Good afternoon, everyone. Bang on. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a sincere privilege to be here today. For those of you who have never seen the show Gogglebox before, I apologize, there's not another celebrity standing in front of you. For those of you who have seen the show before, I apologize, it's not my dad and his cat standing in front of you right now. But it is a sincere privilege to be here. Thank you very much for having me. So looking at all those faces, lots of smiles, that's good. Hopefully those smiles will remain. It's not going to look like this by the end of my presentation. And obviously if you'd heard Jason speak, who's doing the afternoon shot, I can imagine a lot of your faces are going to be like this because that man knows his tech. I've seen him before and you're in for a treat. So again, thank you very much for having me. Now, again, as Baasit kindly said, I do a lot within the world of education. I'm going to do this as a whistle-stop tour. Kind of imagine if you were listening to me on a podcast, we're at 1.25 speed, because I want to make sure we get out on time for lunch. Now, in terms of my background, whenever I'm talking to the young people, the students that I talk about 4 parts of my journey. First one was my journey through education. Got a degree in business information systems, but did not have a clue what I was going to do next. Ended up working as a data analyst for a business, looking to save that business money. Realized very quickly that wasn't the right business for me because some really difficult decisions had to be made about members of staff, getting rid of staff. I think the real reason why that business didn't work for me was because the business I was working for was the NHS. So you can imagine, I was surrounded by some incredible people who had found their calling in life, their passion. Very similar to all of you. And I was the bloke treating them as data on a spreadsheet thinking, we don't need this many people. So realized very quickly that wasn't the right job for me. Fortunately though, 2 young people came in for work experience. And I was asked to show them the work that I do. And it was in those 2 weeks with those 2 young lads that I realized that what I really want to focus on and do is education. I'm very grateful to them. So soon after that, did my teacher training. And have worked in education ever since. In terms of my teaching background, Key Stage 3, 4 and 5 for over 10 years. Now I work in education very differently now because of that weird and wonderful experience that happened, but what it's allowed me to do and leverage is to go out and about and work with so many fantastic educators, and already I've had conversations with a lot of people today and heard about the fantastic work that's being done in this room. So hats off to all of you, but we'll go into that a little bit more. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of my key messages, let's just discuss the Gogglebox elephant in the room. Some weird and wonderful experiences that I've had. A question that we always get is, are we actors? Is it a script? I can categorically say we are not actors in the slightest. That picture in the corner there, we were asked to do an advert for Channel 4. Dad had one line: we are the nation that watches TV to watch other people watch TV. That's a photo of him on his 67th take, and he had lost his mind. So we are not actors. The other one, God, I remember that like it was yesterday. The dog was brilliant to work with. Dad was just an absolute nightmare, though. Kept asking for treats. The one there, though, that's my personal favorite. When I think about the Gogglebox journey and the weird and wonderful stuff we've done, something on my bucket list was to get a Christmas light switch on. And this person approached me and said, would you like to come and do a Christmas light switch? And I go, oh, definitely. So I looked into it. There's a place called Nuttall. And I thought, okay, is this like a little village? Yeah. It's not even a village. It's a house on a street. So we had to go to the house and basically flick one switch and then like, Merry Christmas, everyone. In all seriousness, though, these guys are amazing. They've raised loads of money for charity, and it's one of the nicest things. When I look back at this whole weird and wonderful experience of Gogglebox, that's kind of at the top of the list. But really, what I'm so proud of and so grateful for is that it's allowed me to work in education and work with educators such as yourself. So many different forms. Where I started in terms of the business, it started with a workshop called Let's Pitch It, which involved young people using all of their transferable essential life skills, communication, collaboration, all these bits and pieces essentially, the things that are going to go with them with the rest of their life. Now we've heard from a lot of different people. I think Pete's bit on UCAS and a focus on essential life skills is just going to grow and grow and grow as the market continues to shift, technology continues to advance. It's these fundamental core skills and asking our young people questions about what they want to do in the future and what matters to them. Happiness at the top of the list was lovely to read. From Let's Pitch It, I've created my own little bank of resources, trying to keep it as current as possible. But some of the key messages, again, that have been said today, linking business with fantastic, skilled, passionate educators. It's an art form to break something down, distill it, and pass it on to your audience, to your students. It's not easily done. So that's kind of the core of what I do, but then I get asked to do lots of great bits and pieces in education, and hopefully you can sense from the tone of my voice, there's nothing but gratitude in terms of the fantastic things that I get to get involved in. Now, bringing it back to yourself so you don't have to hear me whittling on for the next 30 minutes, I like to deliver my messages, but I like to make you work for them. So those of you who are familiar with the show catchphrase, when you think about my journey up until this point, there's a message behind this. There's one really useless square, by the way. You'll see it in a second. Well, I mean, what's that there? And I could change it, but I don't now. So, I think I heard it this side. Could we say, yeah, do you want to say it again? Make hay whilst the sun shines. Can we give this lady a round of applause, please? Right. Not that it's a competition, but we've got one from that side, middle and that side. Yeah, got no expectations now. Really, it is leveraging the opportunities, making the most of every single opportunity. I do not know how long the Gogglebox experience is going to last for. I am making the most of it, not just for myself and my family, but for the young people that I work with, for the students that I work with. Now, when you work in education, when you go in, day out, you don't get the chance to really put labels on the work that you do and the impact you make because you're just getting on with it. It took someone else at a networking event to say, yo, I saw you on LinkedIn. You're doing loads of work to support social mobility and upward mobility. And I said, am I? I didn't really know that I was at the time. Then I started to look into it and all the data around it and trying to support people from disadvantaged backgrounds and try and help them in terms of opportunities. So I could give you loads of data in terms of that, but I think when we talk about the mission for everyone in this room, if I'm honest with you, whether you work on the chalk face, work behind the scenes, whatever you're doing in education right now, you are supporting the people in this key message. So whenever I try and share the story of social mobility, I talk about On a Plate by Toby Morris. I'll repeat that because a lot of people ask me, what was that story called again? On a Plate by Toby Morris. Tale of two young people, Richard and Paula. Richard's parents are doing okay, Paula's not so much. So Richard's house is full, he's got food in his belly. Paula's not so much, keeps getting sick. This one, because for the majority I do work with younger people, I do work with Key Stage 5 students as well, but this one always hits me. Richard's parents will do anything for their child, tutoring, and so will Paula's. That's why they're working two jobs. So naturally, education suffers on the back of that. Sometimes it's the environment that you're working in or that you've grown up in. I can imagine with a lot of your learners as well, they may not have had the right education establishment for them whilst they were younger. But essentially, all of these different barriers, academically, these two young people at a similar stage, their attitude towards progression, learning, is different, even though academically they're kind of at the same level. Now, the key thing with upward mobility, as you may know, doesn't start and stop in the classroom, carries on through their life because of the opportunities they have or the challenges that they have as well. It limits other challenges, other opportunities that you can have, i.e. getting a bank loan. Now, I'm going to sit on this one for a second because really, when it comes to the work that I do, and I know a lot of educators do it for the Paulas to make sure they never feel like this, Ascentis' core value is to make sure that everyone's got an opportunity to thrive. So I know that I'm right in saying that we really work and do our best to make sure the Paulas of this world don't settle and learn their place. They feel that there are opportunities and you're guiding them towards that. Anyway, in terms of On a Plate, Toby Morris, the reason why I love the message, two young people academically at a very similar level through different challenges in their life and have been two very different places. So really, when it comes to making the most of an opportunity, that's why I do the work that I do. Again, confidence, direction, and skills. And I'm not alone in that in this room. Now, I'm just that person who people may know, if I'm being really honest with you. A lot of the kids don't care that I'm on TV. Teachers tend to care about it. But even then, it's an outsider coming in, doing a workshop, giving that certificate, and really explaining to them what skills they've shown and giving them that key message. Now, I went on to Ascentis' testimonials and the work that I've heard today. Can't wait to try the metaverse stuff as well. That sounds really, really interesting. But this is just a snippet of the testimonials of the fantastic work that you do. So a massive, massive thank you for that. Now, I am going to labour that point because I want to make sure, and we won't have time today, but this is an important question that I want you to reflect on. I'll explain why in a second. What are the moments in your work that you are most proud of? It's very easy to focus on the challenges and the negative, and that is where we go with it because that's what we're dealing with right now. But please do take that moment to, next one. This is AI generated, by the way. I'm going to give that to the middle one, sorry, and it's very competitive in this corner. Let's give the middle ones a round of applause. Big round of applause. So make sure that you do take time for yourself to stop and smell the roses. Now, because of time, I think I'm doing okay, and I'm going to grab a water in a second. Do this in typical teacher style. I'd like to give you ages to reflect on this and think about this, but really, it's for when you're having those tough moments in the work that you do, please reflect on the difference that you make. And if you had to pinpoint one example that you're most proud of, you'll see an example of mine right at the end, and it still is something that I'm so, so proud of. But I want to make sure that all of you do take that time to think about what you do. So what I'll do is, and 2 minutes, realistically, you won't get a proper chance to have a discussion about this. And if I'm being really honest, it's so I forgot my glass of water, so I can go and grab a water. So for 2 minutes, have a chat with the person next to you. If you had to pinpoint something that you're most proud of, whether it's this year, last year, if you work in the back, what have you facilitated, what have you supported happening for the students that you serve, what are you most proud of? So have a chat with each other whilst I quickly go and grab a water. Okay, right. So again, I've only just thrown that at you, but there's a reason why I do ask you to really reflect on that and think about it, because it goes without saying you all make a difference. Now, just to take snippets from it, on all the different schools, colleges, universities that I've worked with, conversations I've had, and trying to sort of distill it down to some of the key messages. Educators promote love of learning and create a climate of curiosity. You give your students permission to ask questions, and then they can take that away. And in this world right now, the way that social media is, I think is so, so important to give them that opportunity and the skill to ask questions. Educators nurture well-rounded individuals in an ever-changing world. Now, speaking to the Ascentis group already, don't know too much about it, but what I love is combined with the ESOL qualification, there's that link to local careers. Ultimately, the end game is, the point is that the people that you are serving can go out and contribute to society and feel confident and comfortable to do it. That in itself happens because you are creating these well-rounded people. Educators never let Paula settle and learn their place. They work very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. There was a post I saw yesterday that said something along the lines of, teacher, noun, stays up at night worrying about other people's children. And I think that there's such a true statement. Educators offer hope in a sea of trouble. Now, whether that's young students who don't know where to go at lunchtime, break time, or whether it's the elder ones, I can imagine those with English as an additional language coming into the country for the first time feeling very lost. You're giving them an opportunity to communicate, so thank you for that. Now, again, it's those drives home, it's that walk back home, cycle back home, however you're getting home. Please make sure that that's what you focus on at the end of the day, because you do make a difference. Now, bringing it back to kind of the weird and wonderful journey that I've been on last 7 or 8 years, I've been very lucky to go to lots of different places, deliver workshops, but it's really only me that goes around and does this. Class myself as a business of one. But behind every single workshop that I do, I've got a group of educators that I know that I can go to just to make it a bit more relevant and a little bit better. A lot of the work that I do is linked to the TV industry. So it's not me saying this is how TV works. Someone who's been in front of the camera. It's people that have got decades of experience behind it to add that level of authenticity. Businesses and the skills that they have really helped me. A lot of the workshops that I do involve sponsorship or prizes or things like that. So although I class myself as a business of one, never been about one person. Last but not least, I think this is the last one. I think you can all have a round of applause for that one. Yeah, so no man, no woman is an island. So essentially, days like today really celebrate that. It's about collaboration. For us to see the progress that we want to see within this industry at all its forms, it's about collaboration between other educators, other providers. Make sure that you make the most of the 21 people from Ascentis and other people within your network today, which I know you will do. Whilst I'm here, obviously, I wanted to make sure that I was giving you some snippets of the stuff that I'm involved in, which are essentially freebies. Take it or leave it. If it doesn't work for your audience, so be it. But if you know any educators for younger students, please do pass on the message. So I do lots of work with the TES Institute. Reason why I want to make sure that I keep doing that is so I can stay up to date with what the challenges are with educators, make sure I'm using the right language in terms of what's happening in teaching. God, look, thank God I'm wearing a different jumper. That's always embarrassing. Yeah, so in a similar vein, helping young people who are umming and ahhing about going to university to try and understand the bits and pieces we talk a little less about. For example, halls of residence, how to do research as a university student. So that's a lovely little thing. So it's a bunch of free videos and then a little podcast competition. Cyber Explorers, now this is for Key Stage 3, so a lot of your students, it may be a bit too young for them, but it really does come back to something that was said a little earlier as well, keeping it relevant. There are 87 different careers in cybersecurity at the moment, and that list is growing. And essentially we're trying to get the message to young people earlier in terms of that, so they learn about the different challenges around cybersecurity and the different careers in it. All free, that one's government funded. I did a Reading Solutions conference. I hosted that a while ago, so there's loads of freebies. If you search Reading Solutions or International Reading Conference, highlighting again what we've echoed from Ascentis, the importance of maths and English in this case, gives you some ways to use digital technology effectively in terms of supporting young people. Personal favourite of mine, Books on the Box. It's just a reading challenge where young people make trailers to support to celebrate the love of literacy, essentially. So there's a big issue at the moment with only 34% of kids reading for pleasure. So that keeps going down and down and down. So this is just a fun way to work with that. Now, so that was the whole bits and pieces that I'm involved in. If you have any questions about any of those, please do feel free to ask me afterwards. I'm more than happy to do that. Now, bringing it back to no man or woman is an island, again, speaking from my personal experiences, people that I really value are the institutions, the schools, the colleges, the providers, and I'll hold my hands up. This business wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those groups of people that have really supported me in ways that I wasn't necessarily expecting them to. So when I talk about the power of collaboration, and we were having a brilliant discussion inspired by Julie's activity about what do we do, where does change come from? And it's got to come from all of these different parties working together. And the video you're about to see in a second, like I said, is one of my proudest moments, but I'll hold my hands up and say it wouldn't have happened if I was working in a vacuum, if I was working by myself. So I just want to give a bit of context with regards to this story. Siddiqui Education, nearly 7 years old, but it would have ended in a heartbeat because of that scary thing. Almost, boo, yeah. It feels like a bit of a dream now to some people, but for some people it's very, very real. All I can do is talk about it from my context. Siddiqui Education was only about 2 years old. Also, I've not mentioned how unoriginal the name Siddiqui Education is for a business as well, have I? Yeah. But it was only 2 years old, and really, essentially, it was me going out to schools, delivering workshops and talks and things like that. Diary was looking like that. It was looking to be the best year for the business. Lockdown happened, and it turned to that. So naturally, I was terrified, thinking, what am I going to do next? Thankfully, I had worked with a trust, the Greenwood Academies Trust, and it's very rare that I get nervous about having a phone call with someone. But I messaged the CEO, and he said, let's have a 5-minute conversation. I had an idea to digitize one of my workshops that I was doing. And he said, yeah, we've got all of our bits and pieces that we're doing with our young people. They're attending events, the online events. We want to do something a little bit different with them, a little bit more, a little less formal. So we turned Let's Pitch It into a digital version. Reason why I mentioned this is it was the CEO of Greenwood Academies Trust that really gave me, in that 5-minute conversation, the confidence to continue with the work I was doing. I'm forever grateful for that. He could have just dismissed me, but because I'd worked with them, because I'd worked with his schools, and really try to understand their challenges. It was that collaborative approach between myself, a third-party provider, and the educators that knew their students and how to get the best out of them. And that's where we created something that I'm still to this day very, very proud of. And that's where the essence of Let's Thrive really comes from. So let's pitch it, national competition. Young people come up with concepts for their own television shows and then have to develop their oracy skills by presenting their idea. They can do it as Tom did, to camera. They could do it as a little trailer. I've seen some terrifying trailers. They love horrors, young people do. But this was our winner in the year of COVID. And Tom said to me afterwards, when I said, how did you come up with the idea? We started to have a conversation, and he said it was me collaborating with my family and having the space and the time to do this and create this. And I'm so grateful that I got to have that chance. But again, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Greenwood Academies. So I just wanted to play this for you because, again, it's something that I am extremely proud of. But all of you, when you reflect on the things you're proud of, there will be very little difference between it.
Hi, my name is Thomas. I am in Year 7 at Skegness Academy. Before fucking shitting, I tell you about my idea. I'd like to tell you a bit about me. I have Tourette's syndrome. When people hear the word Tourette's, they think of swearing and jerky movements. In fact, it's a lot like an iceberg above the water. You see the motor and vocal tics. Underneath, there are many other issues that make up the syndrome, sometimes dangerous, often painful. I found practicing magic calms my tics, and the same can be said for a lot of the disabled, fucking shit, and neurodiverse community, with some form of arts and or talent, which brings me to my idea, a show called Kids on the Flip Side, a show where differently abled children can showcase their talents and win a chance for mentoring and to perform at a prestigious event. Differently abled children are a bit like magic. They're not always what they seem. Thank you for watching.
So this video is a couple of years old now, but I went back to Skegness Academy and met Tom, and he's just such a lovely young man, and he still remembers that experience as well. But again, the reason why I bring it back to the work that we do, we've all got those moments when we sit back, reflect on the work that we've done. Some of us, 1 year, 2 years, 25 years, whatever it is, you make a difference. On those drive homes, please make sure that you're focusing on them and the positive things first. Julie is very right to say that things need to change. You need to feel that you are being valued and respected for the fantastic work that you do. But in yourself, for your own well-being, please make sure that you look after yourself. I would urge you to look at the testimonials and the pride in those videos from the Ascentis team and the people that have worked with the Ascentis and capture the difference that they're making. But bringing it back to Paula then, supporting the Paulas of this world. I said right at the start, I didn't really know I was doing what I was doing to support social mobility. Because as I said, educators, teachers, whatever we're calling ourselves, we do the work without really putting labels on it. During COVID, there was a lot of negative press about educators, even though they were working as hard as they could do, and that continues to be the case in whatever challenges are there, cost of living crisis, whatever it is. Can I just take you back to this one final quote, which I think is extremely powerful and really is relevant with anyone who works in education. I don't want to see one more article about how behind our kids will be when they start school again. We are teachers, we'll meet our students where they are, and we'll move them forward. That is our work, that is what we do. I don't think there's a truer statement when it comes to people that work in this profession. So really, all that's left for me to say is a huge, huge thank you for everything that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.